Hello gamers, it's GameFreak4Ever back to do a new video. This video I wanted to talk about an incident or a situation that occurred last year. Actually, the funny thing is getting my stuff together as far as like notes and stuff like that, things that I wanted to talk about in this video. I found a specific date. It happened around March 25th of last year. Honestly, it's one of those things that's kind of embarrassing that it happened, but then also had to come to terms with the reality that it happens to a lot of people. And I just wanted to talk about a time that I was scammed. And what happened was, this was during last year, 2022. It was still hard, you know, the first 2 years was hard getting a PS5. I finally got my PS5 and everything. Just for those that are wondering, yes, I did get my PS5. And here's my box and everything with the actual console and everything. But as of last year, around 2025 or 2022, March 25th, I went on Facebook Market. I was trying to get one because 2020 I didn't want one. It was still too early. And honestly, I usually get my systems 2 years after. That way we develop a library, kind of get all the bugs fixed, get everything out the system and stuff like that. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys my PS5. But anyway, this happened last year, March 25th of 2022. I normally get my systems 2 years after the console comes out because I like to get the bugs out, develop a library, because I'm constantly always buying a bunch of stuff. Whenever I get a new system, new handheld, or whatever the case is, even if it's old, because I've just purchased it, I go crazy with buying a bunch of games for it. Anyway, I went to Facebook Marketplace, and I saw some PS5s advertised. And I actually went on there a couple times prior. And I even went on Craigslist, went on eBay, of course. eBay was out of control with the scalpers still at this time. It was still ridiculous. So there was no point in really trying to negotiate with them. I went to some pawn shops and stuff like that. So I had checked a few advertisements on Facebook Market, but nobody would respond. Now this one person decided to respond back. They had like a PS5, it was $500, you know, and then they were like, oh, it's gonna be additional for the shipping. So I was thinking, okay, no problem. So I did record some of the video or some of the messaging, and I'll put that up. Hopefully I'll be able to put that up and show that on the screen. And then some of our messaging and stuff like that. I recorded some of the playback with my phone. But anyway, I went through this whole process of negotiating, talking with the person that put up the advertisement for the PS5, and everything was good. We were like, okay, we're communicating back and forth, but I did start to get a weird vibe. And you know how you kind of get that tingle in the back of your ear, or that sensation that something is possibly off here, because I've actually done deals on Craigslist. But usually that's in person, and I usually go to a reliable location. Like certain cities within my vicinity are pretty reliable. So I kind of stuck with that as my game. I bought systems on there. I bought all kinds of stuff off Craigslist, and it's always gone well. It's never been like, oh my God, this was such a bad situation. So this was my first time going through Facebook Marketplace. Anyway, I go in, we're talking, everything's going good. I'm communicating back and forth with the person. Everything sounds good. Now, I use Zelle out of my account, and I send the money. And the person's saying that they didn't get the money. So I tried again to send the money. And I noticed that the account was blocked, which was already, should have been like a telltale sign. So I decided to use Cash App, and Cash App had blocked it. So I called my bank because the person kept saying they didn't get the money. We went back and forth for about 24, 48 hour period of this back and forth type stuff. And come to realize, after talking with my bank was like, oh no, the person got the money. They're just not telling you they got the money. They're just going to keep saying that they got the money. So I tell the person they got the money, and long story short, they start to come at me and attack me and said, you're trying to run a scam. I'm not going to send you the PlayStation 5. So after talking with our theft recovery department and everything, they said the unfortunate part was because I didn't do the transaction directly through my account, they couldn't give me the funds back. So I spent a countless amount of time trying to get the money back. But Zelle, after much investigation, they said they looked at it like you withdraw the money and you gave the money to them. And that's the way they kind of looked at the Zelle situation. So it was hard-earned money that I worked for. So ultimately, I ended up giving up $600. Yeah, and it was probably one of the hardest things that I had to go through. One of, not like, oh my God, but it definitely was gut-wrenching because that was $600. I mean, it was money that I was getting back on a tax return, so it was like additional money, but it could have been money that could have been put back into the family, to the house or something like that. And so I dealt with that for months, and it was rough. I didn't forgive myself for a long time. My wife was okay. At first she was mad, but she really wasn't mad at me about it. At least that's the way I took it. So I didn't think about it too much like that, but so when I decided to get a PlayStation 5 again, I was already on Sony's waiting list. I was on their initial waiting list. So what I decided to do was stay on the waiting list. The first time I tried to go through it, I think the first time I got an alert was 2020. And it was quick and fast and nothing happened. Of course, everybody was already clicking right away, so you didn't get it. And then the second time, same situation. The third time, which was later on in 2022, I noticed that it was open, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. And that was like November of 2022. So everything was open again. So meaning like they had supply, and I didn't realize it. So I just put the PlayStation on hold. So I grabbed one and I kept it on hold for a short period of time. I had the funds and I was getting ready to buy one, and then we had something come up in the household, so we had to take care of the expense. But I still kept it on hold, and I noticed that nobody ever took it, and they didn't release it and saying, okay, you've had this PlayStation on hold for X amount of time. So anyway, I ended up purchasing it, I think in either the first week in January or the last week in December of 2022, and I ended up getting one. So I finally got my PS5 with the God of War Ragnarok bundle, which was a game that I first played, beat, and stuff like that, and enjoyed, and been enjoying my PlayStation 5. They actually have already been talking about, as far as Facebook, have been talking about changing some of the marketing. The big mistake that I made, and the reason why I wanted to do this video is a precautionary to other people. If you orchestrate your business as far as when you operate in getting certain games on console, since this is a gaming channel, I'm gonna try to keep it specific, specified towards gaming. If you notice that you normally go to the mom and pop shops, or you normally use Craigslist in order to get games, you go to pretty reliable sources. Do not go outside of that. This was the first time I stepped outside of that, and the console that I was going to get was from somebody in another state. I should have just stuck with the people in my city, around my area, or at least like maybe 30 minutes, an hour away. That way I know it was legit and I could communicate with that person. That was the other thing. I couldn't get the person on the phone. That became an issue, and it just became a snowball effect of things. Pretty much I walked away with a learning experience through the entire situation, but I almost didn't even want to talk about this because it's been over a year now, And it still had bothered me, like even towards the end of the year, it was still bothering me. So I was kind of glad that I was able, in the end, I was able to get a PlayStation 5 and able to move forward. And I know my wife was happy that I was able to get my PlayStation. She was like, yeah. Because I know I worked hard, you know. Most people could just go and buy items. I have a household to consider. So when I got the PlayStation again, I made sure to have sufficient amount of funds. You know, I worked additional overtime and all kinds of stuff to get it. But anyway, that's it. That's it, man. Tell me about a time if you've ever been scammed or misled or thought to believe something was going to be a certain way and you thought, oh, it's going to turn out. You know, I've had situations with games before, but on a lower end. Like one time I thought I was buying this game and turned out the game wasn't even in there and I had already paid for it, and I think I was at a convention or something. I can't even remember. It was years ago on a smaller scale, but yeah, this is probably one of the biggest scams that I've ever dealt with, and it was not an easy thing to deal with. I didn't even tell my friends for a while. I think I told them like a month later or something like that, and a couple buddies, I told them later on. But anyway, tell me how your life is as a gamer. I'm GameFreak4Ever.